first at 9. Fox 4 News starts now.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Natalie Solis. Well, it looks like America's team can begin its vacation plans early. After starting the season with Super Bowl potential, the Dallas Cowboys season came to a disastrous end. Mike Ducey is first on Fox 4 with more. And Mike, some might say that's an understatement after today's debacle.
Natalie, you're right. It's a game that meant everything, but the Cowboys showed virtually nothing, unless you count mistakes, turnovers on offense, missed tackles on defense. A team considered by many to be the league's most talented goes down in flames at Philly, missing the postseason party altogether. Contrasting pregame styles. Brian Dawkins of the Eagles, Terrell Owens of the Cowboys. Maybe it's a sign. Already 10-3 Eagles in the second when Philly gets on a roll. McNabb to Correll Buckhalter. 4-yard touchdown. Obviously a defensive breakdown. Wade Phillips and Kevin Burnett confused. They're not the only ones. Romo throws the pick here. Sheldon Brown. That leads to another Philadelphia touchdown. Late in the half, Pac-Man fumbles on the kickoff return. Eagles turn it into a field goal. 27-3 their halftime lead. More mistakes to come. Romo with another one of his 3 turnovers on the day. Chris Clemens has it, takes it back 73 yards for the touchdown. And it gets worse. Marion Barber coughs it up here. Rosalio Hansen takes it 96 yards for the TD. 44-6 the final. Biggest margin of defeat in 20 years for the Cowboys.
Not much I can say about this one. It was a disaster from the opening kickoff, kicking the ball out of bounds.
Are we going to change coaches? The answer is no.
You got to give all the credit to the Eagles. They took advantage of opportunities. They took advantage of the turnovers that we committed, and they just basically handed us a old-fashioned butt whooping.
We obviously had hoped to play a lot better than what we did.
We were outplayed in all 3 areas and coaching, so I thought we'd play better, but we didn't.
There will not be another head coach here, new head coach. There will not be.
I think Wade Phillips and the coaches and some of the players did a great job holding it together and still putting together a season that gave us a chance.
This is going to be hard to take. I'll evaluate everything thoroughly. I'm not in the mood to be making any changes. I've said that. But that's far different than making changes on how we approach things, what we do, and all of that is very much appropriate and should be done, and our fans expect that.
Tonight on Sports Sunday at 10, we break down the Cowboy collapse in Philly. Former Cowboy Tony Casillas is my open mic guest live in studio. We talk more about Wade Phillips' future. Should he, will he be fired? That and the Mavs in L.A., why Dirk Nowitzki missed today's game. We'll see you on Sports Sunday at 10.
All right, thanks, Mike. We won't miss it. Well, the loss is a tough one to take for Dallas Cowboys fans. Last week, they said goodbye to Texas Stadium. Now they're saying goodbye to the football season. Fox 4 Sofia Dessa watched the game with fans. She joins us live from DFW Airport, where the team is expected to fly in tonight. Not the homecoming fans were hoping for.
No, they're expected to arrive at midnight now. And let me tell you, after today's loss, fans are not too happy with them. Dedicated Cowboy fans at Fox and Hound in Richardson had a positive attitude, hoping the team would clinch a spot in the playoffs.
Yes! Oh, yes!
Season ticket holder Lou Lewis wasn't going to miss it.
This is the most important game of this team, the coaches, and I think the offensive coordinator's position.
Early in the game, it didn't seem too bad.
Well, it's been a typical Cowboy game. Our defense looks like they're playing tough. Our special teams are terrible. And the offense just can't seem to click yet. But the next drive, we're going to click and we're going to go score.
Go Cowboys! Kick the Eagles' butt.
We got to win today. We want to be in the playoffs.
But by halftime, all was quiet at Hubbard's in Arlington.
If they continue to play the way they're playing, it's going to be an appropriate ending to a disappointing season.
It's not over. I think they can come back. I hope they do.
But what looked like a promising drive turned into one turnover after another, and soon the game looked impossible to win.
Very, very sad.
Coach Phillips ought to go.
Really? You think so?
Absolutely.
I think Roma got to go.
Why?
He's not doing good. Too much mistake. That's what it is.
Some fans even brought up Jessica Simpson again. Others say there's no passion on the sidelines. Tell us what you think. You can blog at myfoxdfw.com. Sofia Dessa, Fox 4 News.
Light winds and clear skies will mean a cold night tonight across North Texas. In fact, take a look at the temperatures now, falling quickly From earlier this afternoon, we're down to about 40 degrees as you head out towards Kaufman. Middle 40s here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, upper 30s up around Jacksboro. And there will be a wide spread tonight in those overnight lows, ranging from the low to mid 20s in the coldest areas north and west of Dallas and Fort Worth to right around the lower 30s in the Metroplex. What's on tap this week? I'll give you a hint. More roller coaster temperatures as we head into the new year. We'll track down that 7-day forecast coming up in a few minutes.
All right, thank you, Dan. Talk to you then. Police are looking for 2 suspects who got away following a chase through Fort Worth last night. It started in the 2100 block of Main Street and ended in Lake Worth. In the time between, the truck headed the wrong way on a highway. There was a crash and drugs found. Fox 4's Emily Lopez sorts it all out.
Just north of downtown Fort Worth on Saturday night, an officer in a cruiser noticed a man in a truck driving erratically. Police tried to stop him.
He quickly changed lanes, almost clipping another vehicle. The officer, of course, initiated a traffic stop.
There were 2 other suspects in the car with him. When officers tried to stop the driver, he refused to give in and sped off.
That's the age-old question, is why do people run? And usually it's because they've done something illegal.
At one point, police say the driver ended up back on Main Street at the intersection of West North Side Drive, where it slammed into a red car. But even that didn't stop the driver. Police say the driver continued on, and some suspects in the car started throwing out cellophane packages onto the street, packages that contained drugs.
There's no doubt that this guy was dangerous.
The chase continued from Fort Worth on Azle Avenue into Lake Worth, where the suspect drove the truck through a fence at a post office. It finally came to an end when the truck came to a stop a couple of hundred yards away at a Target parking lot. 2 of the suspects got away. However, officers tackled 29-year-old Kelvin Ray Baker to the ground as he ran into a nearby Circuit City. No word yet if Baker was a passenger or the driver. He faces evading arrest charges. His accomplices are still on the loose.
These particular individuals definitely need to be behind bars where they belong.
Emily Lopez, Fox 4 News.
A Fort Worth man is dead after a head-on collision and fire this morning. It all happened under the airport freeway overpass at Sylvania Avenue. Fort Worth police say the driver was traveling the wrong way on the freeway just before 3 a.m. when he struck a truck and his vehicle caught fire. He was pronounced dead at the scene. The other driver's injuries were not life-threatening. Dallas police say 27-year-old Johnny Barretet was shot and killed outside his girlfriend's home after an argument with her former boyfriend. The shooting happened in the 8300 block of Campanella Drive in the Lake Highlands area of North Dallas about 2 a.m.
Officers were en route to the location on a disturbance when a shooting call came out at the same location. When they arrived there, they found the complainant, Mr. Barrett, dead, and the suspect was gone already.
Police are not releasing the name of the suspect until their investigation is complete. Beginning January 1st, all cigarettes sold in Texas will be a little safer. While chemical levels will remain the same, a new fire safety law requires that cigarettes self-extinguish. That means smokes must be wrapped with less porous paper, which slows down the burning and should help prevent fires in cigarettes left unattended. Well, some tense moments for a pilot at Addison Airport this afternoon. This small plane touched down on the runway about 1 p.m. and the front landing gear collapsed. The plane skidded to a stop on its nose. The pilot was the only one on board and was not injured. Investigators are now trying to determine what caused the malfunction. Fire at a Dallas landfill was allowed to burn itself out this afternoon. Dallas Fire Rescue says bundles of cardboard at the Community Waste Disposal Center caught fire and grew to 2 alarms. No structures were damaged. Dallas homicide detectives are investigating the shooting death of 38-year-old Thomas Steele found inside a pickup truck in East Oak Cliff. Police were called to the intersection of Cadillac Drive and Cedar Crest Boulevard about 1:30 this afternoon. They say Steele suffered an unknown number of gunshot wounds. The military has confirmed the death of an American soldier killed by a roadside bomb in Baghdad. A military spokesman says the bomb's target was an American convoy. No one else was injured. In Gaza, Hamas leaders say Israeli airstrikes have killed more than 280 people in a ferocious campaign with no end in sight. The Israelis say they want to stop the militants who fire rockets into southern Israel for good. Fox's Mike Tobin reports from the Israeli-Gaza border as the Israelis prepare for a ground campaign.
Israeli warplanes bombing Gaza in the most fierce air assault since the 1967 war. Israeli officials say the prime targets continue to be Hamas security compounds and tunnels that militants use to smuggle weapons into the Gaza Strip. The main goal, stopping Hamas rocket fire from Gaza into Israel. Still today, militants managed to launch more than 20 rockets and mortars at Israeli border communities. Hamas says Israeli airstrikes have killed hundreds. A Palestinian human rights group says that includes up to 30 women and children. The Israeli foreign minister expresses regret over civilian casualties, but insists civilians were warned before the attacks. Israel, she says, is just defending itself against terrorists.
Before the operation, we called all the population which lives nearby Hamas headquarters to leave. We are doing everything in order to avoid or minimize civil casualties, but a war is a war, and these things can happen. This is not our intention.
Despite all the carnage, Hamas says it will just redouble its resistance to Israeli aggression. Hamas spokesman Fawzi Barhoum says we will continue it, the resistance in all its forms, including martyrdom operations as a response to this attack. The air war could soon expand into a ground war. Israel's military has been authorized to call up thousands of reserve soldiers for a possible invasion. Tanks and infantry have been moved to the Israeli-Gaza border. A senior government official tells Fox News that Israel is prepared to stay in this campaign as long as it takes, even in the face of international pressure, whatever it takes to stop the rockets from flying. At the Israel-Gaza border, Mike Tobin, Fox News.
Newly released video of the moments leading up to Timothy McVeigh's arrest. What caught the trooper's eye that caused him to pull McVeigh over?
This is the biggest overhaul of the entire concept of running air traffic.
More air traffic capacity and improved safety. Air traffic control could get a facelift, but at what cost? And is the project still coming up short? A woman disappears on a cruise ship near Cancun. Ahead on Fox 4 News at 9, why surveillance video will likely be key to solving the mystery.
You're watching Fox 4 News at 9.
It's been more than 10 years since the Oklahoma City bombing, but newly released video brings new interest to the story. It shows Timothy McVeigh's car being searched following the attack. Fox's Shannon Bream has more.
It was just 75 minutes after the deadly Oklahoma City bombing that killed 168 people when an alert highway patrol trooper pulled over a car with no tags on Interstate 35. That man, Trooper Charlie Hanger, had a sense that something just was not right about Timothy McVeigh. And in this newly released tape from April 1995, you can see Hanger searching McVeigh's car as McVeigh was sitting handcuffed in the front seat of the patrol car. Hanger did intend to tape his interview of McVeigh, but instead, the video was of Hanger doing the search of the getaway car. McVeigh's never seen anywhere on the tape. He was eventually arrested after the trooper found a loaded .45 caliber gun under his jacket. And of course, at the time, no one knew McVeigh was the Oklahoma City bomber. McVeigh was transferred to the Noble County Jail, where he was held for several days. And coincidentally, Trooper Hanger is now the sheriff there. Ultimately, McVeigh was convicted and executed. The newly released video will be part of a documentary that will be shown at the Oklahoma City National Memorial Museum next year. The museum highlights the victims of the tragedy and the outpouring that came from people all around the world. And now that both the state and federal trials have wrapped, museum officials say they're able to get much more evidence related directly to the bombing to have on display. And that includes this new video and other things like pieces of the Ryder truck that was used in the bombing. The video was never shown at any of the trials. It had been kept secret since the FBI took it into evidence back in 1995. In Washington, Shannon Bream, Fox News.
Another car found in California last night was linked to Bruce Pardo, the man police say dressed up as Santa and went on a shooting rampage. The bomb squad was called in to examine the vehicle in Glendale, fearing it might be booby-trapped with explosives. Last week, Pardo's rental car caught fire outside his brother's home, where Pardo took his own life. On Christmas Eve, it's believed Pardo dressed as a Santa and killed 9 people at his former in-laws' house in Covina, where a family party was taking place. After the shooting, police say he used a homemade device disguised as a present to spray fuel that quickly set the house on fire. The shooting came 6 days after Pardo finalized his divorce with his ex-wife. A suspected serial carjacker was captured in Tyler after a young girl refused to comply with his demands. Paige Moore and her daughter were leaving a restaurant Friday night when a man knocked on their car window. Police say he showed them a machete and told them it was a robbery. The girl quickly rolled up her window, leaving the suspect's hand stuck inside.
Said, "Give me my elfin hand back," and she rolled it down just enough for him to squeeze his hand out, and then he did take off.
The Moore family called 911 and followed the suspect until police caught him. Police say it was the suspect's 3rd car theft attempt in just 3 hours. Well, now that the worst of the heavy winter storms in the Midwest seems to be moving east, airports are slowly getting back on their regular schedules. Fox's Katrina Sun reports from Chicago.
Hundreds of flights have been canceled over the last few days because of heavy snow, ice, and even fog. Air travelers trying to get home today are having a much easier time, though, with only minor delays and cancellations reported around the country. It's supposed to be the busiest travel day of the holiday season, but airport officials here in Chicago say travel is down.
Last year we anticipated about 3.2 million passengers. This year we have projected 2.8 million, and certainly that number was anticipated to be down because of fuel costs for the airlines earlier in the spring, and because of the economy, the economic situation that's come up since the fall. A lot of people aren't traveling as much or as frequently as they would have in years past.
Unfortunately, all of that winter weather we received in the Windy City and Midwest has now moved on to the east. JFK, Newark, and Philadelphia are seeing delays of up to 2 hours because of thunderstorms and fog blanketing the coast. With the New Year's holiday coming up this week, travel is expected to pick up again. The question now is, will Mother Nature cooperate? In Chicago, Katrina Sun, Fox News.
First heavy snow, now flooding. Rain is plaguing parts of Chicago. A storm system moved into the area on Saturday, dumping several inches of rain that melted snow and flooded hundreds of homes and businesses. Flood warnings have been posted for Illinois, Iowa, Missouri, Indiana, and Ohio. More than 350,000 people are without power in Michigan after winds of up to 50 miles an hour blew across the Detroit area. Local power providers say since so many falling tree limbs damaged transmission lines, it could be days before power is restored. Well, it could be the answer to advancing the way America's skyways are monitored, but critics say the upgrade could be a downfall in years to come. Fox's Alicia Acuña explains.
The current air traffic control system is clearly out of date.
The Federal Aviation Administration wants to improve decades-old technology it still uses to monitor America's skyways.
This is the biggest overhaul of the entire concept of running air traffic.
The FAA says it can triple air traffic capacity, improve safety, reduce delays, and even lower greenhouse emissions with the new GPS-equipped technology it calls NextGen.
The current system is presently ground-based, with ground-based radars that track the aircraft on radar scopes with controllers talking to them.
Following ground-based radar often requires pilots to follow zigzag routes that not only take longer, but waste billions of gallons of fuel every year. NextGen would allow planes to fly straighter, wasting less time and money. The $35 billion system is being phased in. The FAA projects full implementation will take up to 17 years.
NextGen won't fix it even if it goes into place tomorrow.
Aviation expert Mike Boyd testified before Congress 14 years ago about the urgent need to upgrade the system.
And what the FAA said then is exactly what they're saying now, and fundamentally nothing's been done.
Boyd says NextGen is taking way too long, costing too much, and will ultimately do too little.
It's $9 to $10 billion right now in excess costs that airlines have to absorb and pass on to you and me. But there's a bigger cost. The cost of some smaller communities not having the air service they need.
The FAA says the biggest overhaul of the air traffic control system in 50 years cannot be rushed.
Not only make sure we do it better, but we don't have any unintended consequences of safety or efficiency.
With so many other issues on their plate, the incoming administration and Congress don't seem likely to push for any major changes in the FAA's upgrade plans anytime soon. In Denver, Alicia Acuna, Fox News.
Time to make that New Year's resolution. How soon after January 1st, most Americans will go back to their old ways. New York is preparing for the crystal ball for midnight, how much it costs to make that magical moment happen. The economy, your 401k, ahead on Fox 4 News at 9, how some are saying good riddance to the bad memories of 2008. 2009 is just 3 days away. Workers put the finishing touches on the new crystal ball slated for use at the New Year's celebration on Times Square. The new ball is covered with nearly 3,000 crystal triangles that'll be illuminated by 32,000 LED bulbs. The entire cost of the project, $5 million. Lose weight and make more money. They're just a few of the common New Year's resolutions. Most see the new year as a fresh start to begin again. Fox's Griff Jenkins catches up with some people to find out what their resolutions are.
It's out with the old, in with the new, time for resolutions. Topping this year's list, getting out of debt, followed by losing weight, getting trim and fit. Now, the truth is, more than 80% of us fall off our resolutions by January 31st. But that didn't stop me from hitting the streets of Washington to find out what topped other people's lists.
I'm going to eat better and exercise like every other year.
Eat better, exercise. How long is that? 2 weeks?
Heading back to school, hopefully to graduate.
To graduate, that's it?
Yep. That's the main thing. You gotta get it done, man.
To stop biting my nails.
Yeah, that's a good one. What about you? What do you think, Mom?
Have more patience.
Have more patience? Does she need more patience?
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, man, whoever's on the line, ask them what their New Year's resolution is.
What's your New Year's resolution? They said to talk less on the cell phone.
See, to read more scripture.
To carry him on my shoulders a little bit less. He's getting heavy.
Lose 20 pounds. To have a happy 2009.
And here's a way to get rid of the bad memories from 2008. You can shred them away at Times Square. An industrial strength shredder is set up there so people can destroy anything with bad news on it. Some lined up today to drop off bad grades, health reports, and financial news. Maybe we should include the video from today's Cowboys game. A woman goes missing on a cruise ship and the FBI steps in to investigate the hard evidence that she went overboard. A multi-billion-dollar payday tomorrow for two of Detroit's big three. Ahead on Fox 4 News at 9, how much GM will get and why taxpayers could pay billions more to save the automakers.
Texas Tech and Ole Miss face off. The AT&T Cotton Bowl Classic. It all starts at noon, January 2nd on Fox 4.
A global recession, a $1 trillion deficit, and a possible second stimulus package. After all that, how President-elect Barack Obama still plans to trim the budget. Eliot Spitzer, John Edwards, and Senator Ted Stevens. The political scandals of 2008. A look at the offenders. A romantic getaway turns tragic when a Texas woman disappears from a cruise ship off the coast of Mexico.
Fox 4 News continues at 9:30.
A Norwegian Pearl cruise ship returned to port in Miami minus one passenger. The woman, believed to be from Houston, may have fallen overboard Friday night near Cancun. Fox's Phil Keating has the latest on the search.
The Norwegian Pearl luxury cruise ship returned to the port of Miami today with one fewer passengers than when it left a week ago. That missing woman, identified by the FBI as 36-year-old Jennifer Seitz, disappeared somewhere off the coast of Mexico. So the FBI now analyzing whether any evidence exists of a crime being committed on the high seas on Christmas evening. As the Norwegian Pearl returned to the port of Miami this morning, FBI agents boarded that ship, interviewing the woman's husband as well as other passengers, witnesses, and crew members. FBI agents also inspected the room where she and her husband had been living, as well as the balcony area from where she may have fallen. A key piece of this investigation is surveillance video taken by one of the Norwegian Pearl's 1,000 security cameras, with the FBI saying it is grainy, but it does appear to show a person in a white robe going overboard around 8 p.m. Christmas night. About 8 hours later, that is when her husband woke up and reported his wife was missing. The week-long Hanukkah and Christmas cruise left Miami last Sunday, stopping at Honduras, Belize, Mexico, and the Bahamas before returning to the port of Miami. The ship had left Cozumel, Mexico, just off the coast from Cancun, when Seitz went missing in the middle of the night. The husband, according to the FBI, is being fully cooperative, is not a suspect at this point, is not being detained, and the entire family is cooperating.
We're seeing if there is a crime. We're looking for a crime if in fact there is a crime. The investigation is ongoing right now. It's too early to tell.
The U.S. Coast Guard assisted the Mexican Navy for the past 2 days, Friday and Saturday, searching about 3,000 square miles of often rough waters about 15 miles east of Cancun. Just the Navy from Mexico in patrol boats continued to search today, so this search has been dramatically scaled down, and the whereabouts of Jennifer Seitz remain a mystery. In Miami, Phil Keating, back to you.
The body of an 18-year-old man who fell into Lake Ray Hubbard on November 29th was recovered by search and rescue teams today. Dallas police say Brandon Fugate was fishing with 2 other men when their boat overturned near Highway 66 in Willow Bend and Rockwall. The other occupants made it to shore. Funeral services were held today for the 20-year-old shot while sitting at a red light in Garland. Police believe Jorge Lopez was one of 3 people shot Monday by ex-Utah State Trooper Brian Smith. Smith shot and killed himself earlier this week during a standoff with police. Last night, friends and family of Lopez gathered for a candlelight vigil at the site of his death. GM and Chrysler are expected to receive their first payment tomorrow in the $17 billion auto rescue plan. The U.S. Treasury will transfer $9.3 billion to General Motors and $4 billion to Chrysler. The funds come from the bank bailout money already approved by Congress. Some economists predict the automakers will need more help, and the bailout will end up costing taxpayers more like $75 billion. The car makers must prove they will change the way they do business by March or face bankruptcy. President-elect Barack Obama campaigned hard to cut the nation's budget. Now that he's only weeks away from office, his options may be limited. Fox's Wendell Goler has more.
I am confident. Even after voting for the $700 billion rescue plan, then candidate Barack Obama was still promising to trim the budget. But actually, I am cutting more than I'm spending, so that it will be a net spending cut. Now, with a global recession and economists predicting a $1 trillion budget deficit, the president-elect seems to be preparing Congress for stimulus package sticker shock.
Unless you have a bold approach, you could see the economy continuing to decline at a pretty rapid clip.
Mr. Obama's economic advisors say he still intends to go through the budget line by line and cut out the fat.
Just because we were going to need a major fiscal stimulus to help avoid a very serious global recession, that did not mean we were going to have a get out of fiscal responsibility free card.
But even in a tough economy, lawmakers say he'll find every spending project is some lawmakers' pet project.
Nobody wants to cut anything in Congress. Your sense of wasteful spending is another congressman's, dream.
One of the few targets the president-elect has identified is subsidies for rich farmers, and Congressman Paul Ryan agrees with it.
It says that 2,700 people who make more than $2.5 million a year in net income are receiving farm payments from the federal government.
Sounds like a lot of money, but it's a drop in the bucket in a $3 trillion budget. Eliminating earmarks would get you $17 billion more, but it would mean picking fights with almost every member of Congress. Better, perhaps, to cut the Medicare Advantage program, which Congressman John Spratt says has not delivered the savings it was supposed to.
CBO tells us that would save $120 billion to $150 billion over a period of 5 years.
Mr. Obama's team sees huge potential savings in overall health care reform, but no one thinks the savings will be quick.
There may be, and likely will be, additional cost in the short and medium term.
Experts say the Pentagon's $650 billion budget is filled with targets like the F-22 Raptor at $190 million a plane, which is ill-suited for the wars we're fighting in Iraq and Afghanistan. But Defense Secretary Bob Gates went through the Pentagon's budget line by line and actually increased it. If we don't know what programs the president-elect intends to cut, it's also unclear exactly when the cuts will begin. But Mr. Obama says they'll start as soon as the economy is back on track and won't be left for the next president to make. In Washington, Wendell Goler, Fox News.
Beginning next year, the Iraqi government will take charge of the roughly 15,000 inmates currently held by the U.S. military. Monthly releases have already started. Those with the lowest threat levels are going first, giving the U.S. about 6 months to build cases against those considered more dangerous. But some detainees fear being left in the hands of Iraqis.
The Iraqi prisons are not what they used to be in the old regime. They are no longer places for oppression and assault. Everything will be clear and transparent.
Some say the Iraqi police and army tortures inmates and won't release anyone without first paying thousands in bribes. Laura Bush sat down today with Chris Wallace and Fox News Sunday for the final time as First Lady. Mrs. Bush reflected on her time in the White House and the transition to post-presidential life.
Be very difficult. That's the hard part of the transition, and especially for the president, who's had every problem in the world come to his desk every single day for the last 8 years. A cleaned off desk with nothing on it.
Mrs. Bush says she felt like she found her voice as First Lady following the September 11th attacks. More than 3 years after Hurricane Katrina, FEMA is still trying to figure out what to do with tens of thousands of temporary housing trailers, how much it's costing taxpayers.
Do you know why we're here doing TV? No.
No, I have no idea.
No idea.
No idea.
Ahead on Fox 4 News at 9, we'll take you to the beach where the Obama family is spending the rest of the year.
And it's been a roller coaster ride here temperature-wise the last few weeks. Question is, heading into the new year, which part of the ride will we be on, up or down? We'll talk about that in your 4-1 forecast coming up.
I'm Mike Ducey. Tonight on Sports Sunday at 10, Tony Casillas and I break down today's Cowboy collapse in Philadelphia. Tony Romo lets down again in a do-or-die game. Tony talks after this one, and we dissect number 9's late season problems. Plus,
there will not be another head coach here, new head coach. There will not be.
Jerry Jones said a few days ago his coaching staff is intact. Has he changed his tune? Should Wade be fired? Will he be fired? Casillas and I weigh in at 10. Plus, the Mavs are in L.A. Dirk Nowitzki is not on the floor. Why Dirk sits this one out, we'll see you on Sports Sunday in about 20 minutes.
All things considered, a beautiful Sunday today across North Texas. And in fact, as we look ahead to the next week, it doesn't look like we're going to see any major weather events here in North Texas, be it Arctic cold blasts coming down from Canada or any threat of any ice or snow, at least from this early perspective. Took a look at the temperatures outside. Currently 48 still at DFW, one of the warmer readings around, 45 at Meacham, 44 at Love Field. Winds presently are light out of the southeast at 5. The air is very dry, and with the clear skies out there and the light winds, still plenty of room to drop, and I think we'll still see quite a drop off in temperatures overnight tonight from the current readings, and the pressure on the rise from 30.27. Here's a look at what to expect over the next few days. Yeah, cold tonight, but a quick warm up tomorrow afternoon as a southerly breeze kicks in, and then a midweek cold front will bring chilly temperatures our way, but no Arctic chill. And good news, pleasant weather it looks like to ring in 2009. 59 was today's high after a morning low of 32, 54 and 35, the typical high and low for this time of the year. Bad news in the rainfall department this year. In fact, for the month now, we're running a deficit of over 2 inches. And for the year, look at that rainfall deficit. We are 7.42 inches below normal, and I don't see any help coming our way whatsoever for at least the next week. 37 at McKinney, 38 degrees in Terrell, 34 in Greenville. So a considerable temperature spread between the warmer Metroplex and some of the cooler outlying areas. Mineral Wells currently sitting at 39 degrees under clear skies. We had a few showers over the last 12 hours skirt by south of the Dallas-Fort Worth area. We're going to see clear skies tonight. As a matter of fact, clear skies right through tomorrow as well. Our next weather maker is sitting way up to the north of us here in the Gulf of Alaska. This upper level low will eventually track southeastward and help drive a cold front into North Texas. That will take place Tuesday night into very early Wednesday morning with some cooler air following behind it. Currently 29 in Chicago, 35 in Pittsburgh, cooling down quite a bit in New York City. They're currently 52. They set a record earlier today of 65 degrees in Central Park, 18 degrees meantime in Fargo. So high pressure sitting just to our east will mean a cold night tonight, but as it slips over to the east tonight, we'll see a return flow. Southerly winds tomorrow, that'll warm us well into the 60s. And then by Tuesday, I think we'll make a run at 70, if not the lower 70s. And then the cold front comes through Tuesday night with temperatures falling back to more seasonable levels for the last day of 2008. Here's your lows tonight. The urban heat island effect showing its effects tonight. 32 in Grapevine. Outside of the Dallas-Fort Worth area, temperatures generally falling into the middle 20s. And then for tomorrow, high temperatures up around 63 Paris, 66 McKinney, and about 67 at DFW. Here's your 7-day forecast. 72 on Tuesday, then a cold front will cool us off to 54 Wednesday. New Year's Day will ring in 2009 with a 60-degree high temperature. Not bad at all. In fact, no precipitation in the forecast for the next 7 days. It looks quiet.
All right, thank you, Dan. And don't forget, for the first word on your Monday morning weather and traffic, Good Day starts at 5 a.m. Ron Jackson is stepping in for Evan to keep you forewarned, and Todd Caruth will keep you up to speed on the drive to work. Good Day, 5 to 9 on Fox 4. With effects of Hurricane Katrina still lingering, so are tens of thousands of temporary housing trailers, some not even fit for use anymore. But as FEMA officials figure out what to do with the trailers, some critics say time is money. Fox's Jonathan Seri has more.
Some call it a trailer park to nowhere. Thousands of temporary FEMA housing units used after Hurricane Katrina empty on private land.
We need to get rid of them. Let's sell them for scrap. Let's get rid of them, but don't store them. Don't be on the hook for millions of dollars.
FEMA has more than 125,000 trailers in storage at 20 sites across the country. This is one of 5 sites in Mississippi where FEMA is storing more than 32,000 trailers. Leasing and maintaining the private land in the state is costing American taxpayers an estimated $28 million a year. That figure prompted the Biloxi Sun-Herald to publish an editorial suggesting FEMA store the units on government land, such as nearby Camp Shelby. FEMA officials say leasing the land is only part of the cost, which also includes salaries and benefits for some 75 maintenance and security personnel working at each site.
By having these storage locations, we're able to put a disaster victim in housing within 2 weeks.
Eric Smith, FEMA's assistant administrator for logistics, says without a ready inventory of trailers, it would take months to order and deliver temporary housing to victims of the next disaster. Critics say many of these units have dangerously high levels of formaldehyde, are beyond repair, and should have been disposed of long ago.
And the problem is that the bureaucracy doesn't move very quickly, so you have a lot of decisions being made, but really nothing being done. It's like watching the continents move.
FEMA says field crews are evaluating the trailers to determine which ones are safe for reuse, which can be sold, and which should be scrapped.
It's an elaborate process, and it's a process that takes time, and I think we're doing the right thing in making sure that we do perform due diligence with these units before we turn them over.
What one group calls government waste, FEMA regards as the cost of emergency preparedness. And whether they're an eyesore or an investment in the public good, you, the taxpayer, are footing the bill for these sprawling parks of empty trailers. In Purvis, Mississippi, Jonathan Seri, Fox News.
Secret Service in Hawaiian shirts. It's life on the road, or in this case, on the beach with the president-elect. Desire over service, and don't forget greed, the biggest political scandals of 2008. That's coming up on Fox 4 News at 9.
For Weather is sponsored in part by BMW, the ultimate driving machine. You're watching the news station, Fox 4.
Welcome back. President-elect Barack Obama is with his family on a much-needed vacation in his home state of Hawaii. But many reporters who tagged along are finding it's not really business as usual. Fox's Steve Centani is there with the latest.
It's a tale of two beaches,
On Oahu's windward side, the beach near Kailua. Big waves, windsurfers, Secret Service agents in aloha shirts, guys with big cameras. And the next president of the United States just hanging out on his lanai, Hawaiian for patio. Up the street, a security checkpoint, and reporters waiting for any movement by the Obama family. A makeshift open-air newsroom connected by satellites and car batteries. But that's not where most of the reporters are camped out. We're a 35-minute drive away on the leeward side of the island on world-famous Waikiki Beach, where tourists are packed in like sardines and where you're likely to meet Blue Makua.
I teach surfing. I did that about 40 years. And then I'm one of the last of the Beach Boys.
He remembers Barack Obama as a boy. Others aren't quite as familiar. Do you know why we're here doing TV?
No. No, I have no idea.
No idea.
No idea.
And here the press corps has done away with some of the usual trappings of TV news, like shoes. No long pants either. No jackets and ties here, no need. A short walk in the sand takes us to home away from home, at the Moana Surf Rider, the first tourist hotel on Waikiki, built in 1901, where across the street there are constant reminders of Oahu's most famous native son.
The Obama family was among the hundreds of thousands of people affected by a blackout in Oahu, Hawaii yesterday. Most of the power was back on by the afternoon. The island's electric company still doesn't know what caused the outage. Well, it was a happy holiday for Hollywood. Christmas Day movies made big bucks. The dog-loving family flick Marley and Me came in at #1.
Oh my God! How long did you leave him here?
I left him for maybe an hour tops.
The Owen Wilson, Jennifer Aniston team scored $37 million over the long holiday weekend. Adam Sandler's bedtime stories made the #2 slot. The Curious Case of Benjamin Button, Valkyrie, and Yes Man rounded out the top 5. Well, the higher you rise, the farther you fall. The politicians who learned the hard way with big-time mistakes in 2008. That's next on Fox 4 News at 9. 2008 seemed like the year of the cheat. Several men in positions of power chose desire over service, while others come off as simply plain greedy. Here's a look at the biggest political scandals of the year.
I will faithfully discharge the duties of the office of Governor of the State of New York.
According to the best of my ability.
According to the best of my ability.
I only know one thing. This governor has to resign his office. He must resign his office.
As for Elliot Spitzer, my heart goes out to his wife and to his family at this time.
I am deeply sorry that I did not live up to what was expected of me. For this reason, I am resigning from the office of governor.
She always wanted to make a name for herself and be famous.
I have no idea what you're asking about. I've responded to consistently to these tabloid allegations by saying I don't respond to these lies.
I feel very, very badly for the whole family and obviously particularly for Elizabeth and the kids. It's a very difficult situation.
And home is where the heart is, Mr. President. If that is so, I have 2 homes. One is right here in this chamber, and the other is my beloved state of Alaska. I must leave one to return to the other.
Just when you think it can't get any more bizarre, it gets more bizarre.
Every human being on earth falls short of the glory of God.
I've made the difficult decision to step down as mayor of the city of Detroit.
I have nothing to be ashamed of. I've done nothing wrong here. As a matter of fact, I feel more like the victim.
See the rock been talking down to black people on those faith-based.
I don't believe there's any cloud that hangs over me.
Well, getting back to that, can we
I think there's nothing but sunshine hanging over me.
The most appalling is the fact that Governor Blagojevich tried to sell the appointment to the Senate seat vacated by President-elect Obama. The conduct would make Lincoln roll over in his grave.
And by the way, I should say, if anybody wants to tape my conversations, go right ahead. Feel free to do it.
Quote, it's a bleeping valuable thing thing. You just don't give it away for nothing.
I was not aware of what was happening. And as I said, it's a sad day for Illinois.
The public interest requires that he step aside.
Now, I'm dying to answer these charges. I am dying to show you how innocent I am. I have done nothing wrong.
All right, and more news on the Blagojevich scandal. There we go. The lieutenant governor of Illinois says he thinks the state legislature will throw Governor Rod Blagojevich out of office by mid-February. If that happens, the lieutenant governor will hold a special election to fill President-elect Barack Obama's Senate seat. Prosecutors allege Blagojevich tried to auction it off. A record high Friday, severe weather Saturday, and a warm Sunday. What will the weather do next? Dan Henry tells us when Fox 4 News at 9 returns. Tomorrow morning on Good Day, Hoppin' John Pilaf is on the menu when Screen Door restaurant chef Fitzgerald Dodd stops by. Plus, the pop reggae sound of America's Got Talent runner-up, Cass Haley. It all begins at 5 a.m. right here on Fox 4.
Cold start tomorrow, but a quick warm-up as we head into the afternoon, into the 60s for highs, low 70s on Tuesday. Cold front comes through here Tuesday night, New Year's Eve day, 54 degrees, and we'll ring in the new year on a pleasant note. Partly sunny and 60 degrees. That is not too bad after what we've seen here the last couple of weeks.
Not at all. Thank you, Dan. Thanks for watching. Sports Sunday's up next.
The following is an exclusive presentation of Fox 4 Sports.